It's 11:38 p.m. in Los Angeles on Tuesday, the 24th of April, 2012. It's 8:38 a.m. in Bonn, Germany on April 25th, Wednesday, 2012. I'm Mark Strassman, reporter with Ethiopian News. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm about to talk to Carsten Berg, who is in Bonn. Welcome to Ethiopian News.
Hi, Mark. Good seeing and talking to you.
Good. Now, you're the ECI Campaign Director, and you're with a number of different democracy groups. Give us just a short list and tell us what they are.
Well, I'm part of Democracy International and, as you said, a number of other democracy initiatives like the Initiative and Referendum Institute Europe and Mehr Demokratie. And we currently built up a global coalition of democracy initiatives beneath the umbrella of Democracy International, which is the organization campaigning and striving for direct democracy as a complement to purely parliamentary indirect democracy.
Okay, good. Tell us what the European Citizens Initiative is, the ECI that we're going to be talking about.
Well, the European Citizens Initiative is the first element of transnational participatory democracy in Europe. It's a new instrument, having entered into force just 3 weeks ago, and it takes 1 million signatures coming from 7 member states at least, and then you can require the European Commission to come up with the legislation. You can require the Commission to answer your proposal, but you cannot enforce anything. It's an agenda initiative, and it's the first one anywhere in the world on the transnational level.
Okay, what provisions in EU law have made the ECI possible?
Well, it's based on the Lisbon Treaty. This is the primary law, which is a result of long-term negotiations. Before the Lisbon Treaty, there was the Constitutional Treaty, which has been rejected by the French and the Dutch citizens, so it had to be renegotiated, and what came out was the Lisbon Treaty. And then there's implementation law. That means citizens' initiatives to be workable need to be designed in a very detailed way, and that's the second legal base. There's an ECI regulation which has entered into force in 2011.
Okay, and what did Democracy International and the other NGOs that you were involved with do? How did your campaign work to get this entered into law?
Well, I'm working on the ECI already for 10 years now, starting in this Constitutional Convention on the Future of Europe 10 years ago in Brussels, 2002-2003. And we started together with the Initiative and Referendum Institute Europe a working group in this Constitutional Convention on the question of participation and direct democracy. We campaigned for the introduction of direct democracy into the Constitution, and we wanted to have a European referendum on the Constitution. The last one didn't succeed, but what was the leftover of this first part is that we have the European Citizens Initiative, and it was a very hard fight. We received lots of fire, especially from governments who did not like the idea in the first instance about the idea of citizens' participation on the European level.
Okay, describe how the ECI process that's now been implemented works.
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Yes. How does the ECI process work? How does it begin? How does it proceed?
Well, first of all, you have to have an idea in how far you want to change the European Union and EU legislation. Then you need to create a Citizens Initiative Committee consisting out of at least 7 people. And then you need to register with the EU Commission. There's a special website where you must register before you collect signatures. And then you have 12 months to collect. And in the end, you turn them in, and the Commission will look at your proposal, and there will be a public hearing in the end in the European Parliament with the people from the Commission, and then you have the chance to really explain your idea. You can explain your idea and present what you want to change.
Okay. What improvements do you think that the procedure could use to make it more citizen-friendly?
Sorry, do you mean the implementation legislation, or what do you refer to in general?
Right, the process by which the ECI works. What could be done to make it more user-friendly?
Okay, that we come to the specifics. As I said, citizens' initiatives, to be workable, need to be designed in a citizen-friendly way, and this is true for the regional, national, and also the European level. And especially on the European level, we have the huge chance of more than 23 official languages and huge geographic distances between citizens. So what we need is to really to have somebody or an organ which is supporting ECIs with legal advice, translation services, and these kinds of things. This would help tremendously to make this instrument work. By the way, this is something naturally or legally given, for example, in Switzerland, legal advice and translation services. None of these kinds of things are given on the European level. Other detailed questions, now we get really into the technicalities, but they are essential, refer to the ID number requirement or the general requirement of giving information when you sign an ECI. In most member states, you not only have to give your personal name, your address, but also your birthplace and your birth state, and even ID numbers or your passport number. And in some other countries, even you need to give you the name of your father. So there are some bureaucratic burden and burdensome hurdles which need to be reduced in the future. Another third point is that the timeline is too short. 12 months for a million signature campaign on the European level is, for many small initiatives, very difficult to tackle. So you see, it's always the details which make such an instrument workable or not, and we see already there needs some improvement.
Is there a process to make those improvements, or will there be a review?
Yeah, there will be an official review in 2015. After 3 years, the ECI has been entered into force, and this is already part of the regulation itself, because we don't have any precedents, we don't have any model at the transnational level. It's in a way for everyone a new instrument. So most people are aware we need to review the practical experience, and that's what we do within Democracy International, the Initiative and Referendum Institute, and the ECI campaign, to really screen and monitor all the experience with the ECI instrument, which is now going to start.
Okay, what tools are available to ECI supporters to help them collect signatures online?
Well, there's a software, a free open source software given by the EU Commission, which is already helpful. But we don't have a European website where you can register your ECI and then collect there your signatures. You have to register your online collection system in the specific member state where you are located. So it's a bit complicated, but at least it is possible to collect online, and this will be the first online tool for participatory democracy on the transnational level.
Okay. Speaking of transnational, how has the ECI process worked to create transnational coalitions in support of specific issues?
Do you mean concerning the upcoming ECIs, or what do you refer to?
Yes, referring to the ECIs. How are the coalitions across the different countries created?
Well, it remains to be seen whether they really succeed. As you know, there hasn't been any registered initiatives, and we don't know whether they have already worked transnational, so that remains to be seen.
Okay. What specific proposals have now been submitted for registration?
Oh, there are already several. There's well, where to start? There's one to protect public water systems, and to guarantee water as a human right. There's an initiative against data retention. There's an initiative for legalizing gay marriage. We have other issues against atomic energy and for renewable energies. It's a whole list which we have publicized on our website, and it's growing. It's growing week by week.
Well, we'll ask about it again later, but tell us the URL for your website so people can go there to see it.
It's citizens-initiative.eu. This is our campaign website, the ECI campaign. and that's where we do all the screening on the upcoming ECIs and all relevant questions concerning the ECI development as such, as a tool. We do not support a specific ECI for their content, but we support ECIs in a formal way. We give them advice and so on.
Are some countries generating more than others?
Yeah, Austria is giving some seminars on how to organize an ECI. So it's the Austrian government actually doing that. This week we have a seminar with the German government, the Ministry of Interior Affairs in Berlin. Other countries like France, they're very busy with their elections right now, do not do anything right now, similar as the United Kingdom and other countries.
Okay, now you mentioned it a little bit, but maybe you could say a little bit more about how the ECI will help to eliminate the democratic deficit. You've talked about parliamentary versus direct democracy. Talk about how the ECI will help to eliminate the democratic deficit that some people say exists in the EU.
Well, in fact, there's a huge democratic deficit. More and more laws are being made at the European level, but so far democracy is mostly and only reduced to regional and national level. So with this instrument, we create the awareness for European citizens that they can really change something on the European level, and it's us Europeans who shape this entity and to whom it belongs. On the other hand, we must realize that the ECI, as I said in the beginning, is just an agenda initiative, and it will not solve the democratic deficit as such. It will be just the first step into the direction of participatory and direct democracy, and as I said, create the awareness how the EU functions and how much law is already coming from the European level. And we hope that we will, in the next step, extend this instrument to a more binding and more direct democratic instrument.
Say a little bit more about that. What next steps would you like to see?
Well, already in the Convention on the Future of Europe 10 years ago, we campaigned not only for the ECI as we have it right now, but that we also have the right to come up with binding votes on the European Union, because after 1 million signatures are being collected, the Commission is fully free to reject ECIs, and we can be sure that many of them will be rejected. Others will be accepted, I assume, but many of them will be rejected, and people will then wonder, what is all this effort really for if we mobilize so much but we only get a short answer that your ECI is being considered but considered as irrelevant? Then people will realize we need more binding instruments as such that we can also trigger a public vote on a specific question. Of course, then you also need to qualify with a much higher threshold, and 1 million wouldn't be enough. But this needs to be explored, all these details.
So you see the possibility of a California-like initiative process by which laws would actually be made by a direct vote?
In a way, yes. Of course, the Californian system is not working perfectly,
no, it's not.
We all know, because the design is not designed in a way that it really creates communication between the legislators and the citizens organizers. Also there we need to fine-tuning of the details, but in a way, yes, we need to think about how to democratize EU democracy, maybe more according to the Swiss model, where you can make counter-proposals from the government side and so on. But these are fine-tuning questions. Indeed, you're right. We need more binding direct democratic instruments, which we have in California or Switzerland.
Okay. How important is the Internet in general and social media in particular in organizing the ECI committees and in collecting the collecting the support signatures?
Well, this is our big hope, that this will really boost the campaign work and make it much more efficient and cheaper. Usually, when we consult citizens' initiatives, we say them expect about $1 or €1 per signature. So you can already see how much it takes to organize an ECI. This is also the number the Swiss government tells their citizens' initiative organizers. We hope that the Internet will make it cheaper, as I said, and will have to communicate cross-border and especially reduce the huge distances which we have in the European Union. But at the same time, it remains to be seen. We should not over-expect and overrate our expectations. We cannot collect signatures through Facebook. We cannot replace the robust system which is given by the EU Commission, where you have to inscribe on an official website. But you can, of course, pre-campaign and use the social media. Everyone needs and must do that to mobilize. And this is a very exciting thing, because we are now the first place in the world where we have these online collection systems in place and being applied and used by many citizens.
Okay, where will the money for these ECI campaigns come from?
Sorry, Mark, can you speak a bit less loud, because I can't hear you with the...
Right.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, where is the money for these campaigns going to come from?
I still didn't get it. Where?
Where's the money? The money for
the
campaigns.
Yeah, it always is up to the organizers to fundraise. There won't be any public funds for that, as is the case for European political parties, for example, which are being reimbursed for their campaign work when elections are coming. So you have to fundraise through your members of your organization, if you have an NGO in your background, or with foundations, or with crowdsourcing, whatsoever. But one thing is clear: you have to be fully transparent, and there's a clear disclosure rule within the EU regulation then, that once you have received a donation higher than 500 euros, you have to make this public.
Can corporations contribute?
Well, corporations cannot run an ECI, and I have to check actually again, but as a corporate as such, I'm not 100% sure. I have to check again, but I don't think so.
Okay. Do you expect groups will be set up to oppose some of these initiatives?
Sorry?
Do you think that some groups will be set up to oppose as well as to support the initiatives?
Oppose what?
Oppose the initiatives. While people are collecting signatures, will some groups say we don't like these initiatives and will organize to stop them and suggest that people don't sign them?
I don't think so. I think it's a very peaceful instrument, and of course we will have opposition to the content of certain ECIs, but the instrument as such, I think, will not create any doubt or questions.
Okay. Talk about how this ECI fits into the global trend towards more democracy, and the historical trend where people have had more power. How does this fit into that trend?
Of course, we have a global phenomenon of a huge democratic deficit. We have Europe, which is going to its own, or how shall I explain that? People realize that there's Europe as it is right now, and there's another Europe which we really would like to have it, and there's a huge gap which we have to overcome. But there's no official body on the global level which you refer to, and therefore many people from different parts of the world look at the European Union and how far this could be a role model also for other regions in Asia or Southern America. This remains to be seen. Of course, Democracy International in the medium and long term also thinks about a democratization process of the entire world, but this always needs to start on a regional, national, and then a transnational level. You have to see it all together, and there the ECI is, of course, an interesting and inspirational tool, which might be really the first step into global democratization. Okay, how much media coverage is the ECI getting in Europe? Oh, so far I would say it's not that big yet. Of course, when the instrument as such was launched 3 weeks ago, it was covered. But many journalists, as far as I've been talking to them, are still waiting for the big shot or the big initiative coming up. And they would like to more than really report on a concrete initiative. So far we're talking about institutional things, which is a bit dry and not so easy to transport. But I'm sure once we have an initiative which is really a hot spot and targeting a specific conflict, it will raise high attention.
Okay, I'm hoping to do some further interviews with some of the specific groups to talk about their specific proposals, and I hope we can talk to you again later also after I've talked to some of them.
Great. Yeah, you really should do that. I mean, that's a good idea.
Okay, good. So finally, just tell us, how excited are you that this, after working on this for 10 years, it's finally happened?
Well, I'm of course glad that it has entered into force, but at the same time I'm also careful not to over-exaggerate expectations, especially when I talk to ECI organizers who are going to start an initiative now. From a positive side, it has shown that you can change something on the European level, but still it is just a very tiny first step, and you know that within the past 60 years, EU integration has been performed on a very top-down process, and citizens haven't been involved yet, and many people even don't know how the EU works, and only a small minority knows about the ECI. So I see this just as a very tiny first step, and as I said, I'm happy, but I'm also a bit careful to exaggerate expectations.
Okay, good. I want to thank you for your work over the 10 years and for your work now, and I hope we can talk again soon about more about the development of the European Citizens Initiative.
Great. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much.
Have a good time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.